So in this video I'm going to be analysing Xavi Hernandez as a manager, breaking down his tactical philosophy and looking at how he sets up his side at Al Sadd with and without the ball, before I look at how he would set up this current Barcelona side and what transfers he would maybe look to bring in the summer, before I give my overall verdict on whether he would be the man to replace Ronald Koeman. But as always, for cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfifa.com, a link will be left in the description, and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL for 5% off. So Ronald Koeman was sacked midway through this week after Barcelona's 1-0 loss to Rayo Vallecano, and it seems like Xavi Hernandez's name is in the mix to be his potential replacement. At the time of recording this, it is unclear who will actually replace Koeman, but it does look like Xavi is the favourite. After ending his career with Al Sadd in Qatar, Xavi would go on to become their manager in 2019. In his first season, they did come third in the Qatari First Division. However, the season after, in 2020-2021, they actually won the league with 19 wins, 3 draws and 0 losses, amassing a massive 60 points, finishing 13 points ahead of second place. In that season, Al Sadd were also the highest goal scorers with 77 goals, 24 more goals than the next best in second. They conceded just 14 goals, which was 6 better than the second best team with 22. At the start of this season, they're currently sitting in first place with 7 wins from 7, scoring 29 goals in those 7 games. So what this shows is that Xavi has now refined his system at Al Sadd and has now created a team in the mould of Pep Guardiola, a team hugely capable of scoring a massive amount of goals whilst also being defensively secure at the back. But what is the actual system that Xavi has been using to create this success? But luckily for us, not only can we analyse Xavi's system at Al Sadd, but we've actually heard him speak about it quite frequently. He did a video on the coach's voice, which I will be leaving linked in the description below. It's a fascinating watch where Xavi goes into a lot of detail describing his tactical philosophy both in and out of possession. So when Xavi first came into Al Sadd, he was using a 3-4-3 system, but over the last couple of years he has adjusted that to either a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 shape, but the principles throughout each system are still the same. As you would expect from a Pep Guardiola disciple, Xavi's system is based around dominating possession, with Al Sadd recording 60% plus on average each game in his first season. In the video on the coach's voice, Xavi talks about how he would set up against a 4-4-2 system, and a consistent theme in Xavi's possession system is numerical overloads, as he talks about adapting his possession shape when the opposition sets up in different defensive shapes in order to continue the numerical overloads. Against a 4-4-2 defensive shape, Xavi shows how he would set up his side in a 3-2-4-1 shape, having the wing-backs push very high up the pitch, playing almost as orthodox wingers to push the opposition's full-backs backwards and stretch the opposition's back line, and he has what he calls inside midfielders, who are the players who start out wide and move inside, coming infield into the half space, sitting between the opposition's midfield and defensive lines. In those deeper positions you can see that he's using a wide back three, which enables his side to circulate the ball around the opposition's front two, and he's also using a midfield double pivot, which creates a box midfield around the opposition's midfield too. However, what impressed me most was Xavi's tactical flexibility. He talks about if the side use a 4-3-3 defensive shape, that his side would then drop into a back 4 to continue to give them that numerical superiority, and choosing then to go with a 3-man midfield with a single pivot and 2 players sitting ahead of the midfield line in the half space. In the build-up phase, we see how Xavi's side would play against an aggressive high press, having one of the double pivot drop into the back line to create a wide back 4, creating a 2-3-2-3 shape with the wingers pushed high up the pitch, pushing back the opposition's back line, and the centre forward also maintaining a high position, and this is done in order to create the maximum amount of space between the opposition's midfield and defensive line. And Xavi talks about finding the free man, and what he means by this is he has the 2 what he refers to as inside midfielders who drop inside to play in that half space, and the aim of the deep 6 players in Xavi's system, including the goalkeeper, is to find these 3 men in the space available. As you can see, a key theme is creating numerical superiorities wherever the ball is on the pitch, and you can see in this build-up phase Xavi's side have got an 8 versus 6, but as Xavi says in this video, that can easily be adapted to whatever the opposition's pressing shape is. But as Xavi also says, against Al Sadd, a lot of sides decide to drop deep instead of looking to press them high, and this will be the same at Barcelona, and he shows that against a 4-3-3 defensive shape, his side would move into a 2-3-2-3 shape. But Xavi isn't solely focused on creating numerical overloads in offensive situations. In this 2-3-2-3 shape, he also points out that against a side that are going to use a lone striker, it is important to have 2 centre-backs back at all times, and he highlights the importance of using triangles to allow his side to play around the opposition players, and this possession shape allows Xavi's side not to just create triangles in these deeper lying areas, but also further up the pitch between the lines. Now out of possession, as you would expect, Xavi's sides do like to press aggressively and high in a man-to-man oriented way. You can see here he's set up the side so that they press in a man-to-man system, so the shape is going to change depending on the opponent's possession shape, but as you can see every man has a man to press, and in this case with the opposition side using a 4-2-3-1 shape, you can see here that Xavi instructs one of the midfield line to move out and pressurise the opposition centre-back that isn't being pressurised by Xavi's centre-forward, and in turn, in order to stop an opposition player being free in behind Xavi's midfield, he instructs one of the centre-backs to push out onto them to create a full man-to-man pressing system, similar to how Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds press. Now obviously this would leave Xavi's side 1v1 or 2v2 at the back in the case of a long pass, but this is a risk that Xavi is prepared to take, and you can see where Guardiola has influenced Xavi's style of play, with Xavi's sides not being conservative in the press and instead looking to win the ball in the opposition's defensive third, or at least in their own half. If you want a more in-depth breakdown of Xavi's style of play both in and out of possession, go listen to him break it down himself on the Coach's Voice. That video should be linked in the description. But now let's move on to how I think he would set up this current Barcelona side, and then we'll talk about some potential transfers he could look to make in the summer. So on paper, I do expect Xavi to set up this Barcelona side in either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 system depending on the opposition, but I do think he will use De Jong and Busquets as the deepest midfielders, likely playing in a double pivot, and I think he will use Pedri or Gavi either ahead of them in a 4-2-3-1 or alongside them in a midfield 3 in a 4-3-3 shape. Now like he did at Al Sadd, I do expect Xavi's 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 system to become a 3-2-5 in possession, with two players in the half space, likely Coutinho and one of Pedri or Gavi depending who starts, but at the moment based on current ability I would say Pedri would be the player to start, but Xavi's also going to use two advanced wide players to pin back the opposition's fullbacks, and because Barcelona don't exactly have the greatest wide players at the moment, I do expect maybe Fati or Dembele on the right side, most likely Fati at the moment, and him to give the licence to Alba in the left back position to push further forward, and I do think we will see Barcelona use a back three, with Dest or Menguiza, whoever plays at right back, dropping in to create a back three alongside Piqué and Garcia. Now having both Frankie de Jong and Sergio Busquets in the squad is going to be a massive benefit to Xavi, as either of these two players could be the player to drop into the back line to create a four at the back to give Barcelona that numerical advantage, and either player can play as a single pivot, with both players having excellent progressive passing ability, with Busquets in particular being one of the best players in the world at playing those disguised incisive passes into players between the lines, which is definitely going to suit Xavi's style of play and system. Now out of possession, as we saw when breaking down Xavi's philosophy and style of play, Barcelona will be pressing a lot more aggressively than they currently do with Ronald Koeman, using a man-to-man press, pushing up into the opposition's defensive third to try to win the ball back high up the pitch. And when defending in the middle or defensive third, I do expect this Barcelona side under Xavi to defend in either a 4-5-1 or a 4-4-2 defensive shape depending on the opposition. So I have briefly gone over the system that I think Xavi could play with this Barcelona side, but come next summer, which players would he be looking to bring in? So I have identified 3 players, and because of Barcelona's current financial crisis, all of these 3 players are what you would call budget options, so there aren't going to be massive names like Erling Haaland or Mbappe, but I still think that these 3 players will not only improve Barcelona but also fit into Xavi's style of play and system. So the first position I've decided to target for Barcelona is a centre-back position, and this is because even though they have got Gerard Piqué, he is ageing, and Eric Garcia is a decent option at the moment, but I still don't think he's Barcelona level. I do think that Longley is a better defender than Eric Garcia, but it seems like Barcelona want to go with Eric Garcia, and I can see why, because Garcia does have the ball playing ability, but the player I've identified is Antonio Rudiger. His contract at Stamford Bridge is up at the end of the season, and even though he has said that he's happy at Chelsea, it's still unclear whether he will renew his contract. Rudiger is a fantastic technical defender both in one-on-one situations and aerially as well. He can also play in a high defensive line, which is going to be crucial for Xavi's system, enabling the defensive line to push up the pitch and keep a vertically compact defensive system. Because of Rudiger's pace, this is not going to be as much of an issue as it would be for Eric Garcia, and Rudiger's also got the ball playing ability that Xavi's going to want from his centre-backs, particularly in this possession-oriented system, so I think Rudiger is a fantastic fit, particularly for Xavi's Barcelona, and he is coming into his peak right now. He's 28, will be 29 in March, so he's still got at least another 4 or 5 years left at the top level. So even if he's coming on slightly bigger wages than he currently is at Chelsea, because obviously Barcelona won't be paying a transfer fee, I still think this is a very good deal because of how good Rudiger is. Now the next position I've targeted is in the left back position, because Jordi Alba is aging, and even though he's still probably going to be a starter for Xavi's Barcelona, Barcelona still need an alternative option at left back to provide that offensive threat. And in the long term they still need a full-time replacement for Jordi Alba anyway. So the player I've selected is Borussia Dortmund's Rafael Guerrero, whose contract at Dortmund does expire in the summer of 2023, so come this summer he's going to have 1 year left on his contract, so likely could be available for as little as 15 to possibly 20 million pounds. Guerrero will be 28 come the summer, but I think at the moment he's probably one of the best attacking fullbacks in world football. If we look at his FBref report, you can see what I mean by this. He literally ranks in the 90th percentile or higher for every creative and goal scoring metric when compared to every other fullback in Europe's top 5 leagues. Even for things like progressive passes and progressive carries, he's ranking in the 99th and 98th percentile respectively, showing how good an offensive fullback Guerrero actually is. Guerrero's also going to give Xavi the option of either using him as a wide overlapping left back, as I suggested he used Jordi Alba in the earlier part of this video, or even as an inverted fullback if needed as well. So Guerrero is a fit from an ability point of view, but also from a versatility and tactical point of view as well. And the third player I've identified as a central midfielder who I think will be replacing Sergio Busquets and could play alongside De Jong and Pedri or Xavi in that Barcelona central midfield, because all of those players are of the same age group. This player is 21, he's from Lyon, he's called Maxime Coqueret. He has 1 year left on his contract come the summer, so would be available for as little as maybe 25 million pounds. He does remind me a lot of Marco Verratti, and he's currently one of my favourite players in France. Not only is he very press resistant, able to play out of pressure, he's a very good passer, a short passer and a long passer, as well as playing incisive passes to players between the lines, but also from a defensive point of view he's very impressive as well. If we look at his FBref report we can see this, he's ranking in the 99th percentile for pressures when compared to other central midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues, as well as the 95th percentile for tackles, the 73rd for interceptions and the 88th for blocks, whilst also ranking in the 92nd for progressive passes and the 90th percentile for dribbles completed as well. So I think he's a perfect player to come into the Barcelona squad to compete with the likes of Busquets and Xavi for that starting spot alongside players like De Jong and Pedri, and I think in the long term he's going to be one of the best central midfielders in the world. And if you look at Barcelona's current squad with De Jong and Pedri also in there, from a long term point of view over the next decade or so, Barcelona have got some excellent options in their squad already. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell and give the video a like. Also go to the description to check out some of my other videos as well, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more content as well.